The convoy continues to drive around the DC metro on the freeway, but now DC police are more and more getting in the way of the convoy and blocking traffic, which is enraging regular citizens of DC, and tensions in DC are escalating as the convoy continues to do its laps. They said, hey, we're just going to stay on the freeway and not go into DC so we don't get caught in some other January 6th situation. But their persistence in doing laps around the DC metro is actually starting to aggravate someone in DC because they've deployed police. And I'm going to get into who these police apparently are. There's one officer apparently leading this charge against the convoy who has a pretty rough history. We're going to get into that, bring you some updates on what's next with this convoy. How long are they going to be there? Doesn't look like the convoy is going away anytime soon. I want to talk about what's really up with the biolabs in Ukraine. There's now a attack or misinformation campaign going on against any information about the biolabs. Biolabs, turns out, are a very real thing. The collab between the U.S. and Ukraine on the biolabs was really real, and these fact checkers are just they're out there every time. It's really something. So let's dive into that, especially with the new information that's making all the headlines about Hunter's laptop and the New York Times admitting that the laptop is real. So let's dive back into what does that mean? What was really on that laptop? And what's up with these allegations of information on the laptop being connected to corruption between the U.S. and Ukraine. There's so many U.S.-Ukraine ties. This is very interesting. So before we dive all the way into it, shout out to the sponsor of my coverage, which is Ageless Glow with Ivory. So I was connected with this amazing new face serum, and it's been really wonderful. My results with the Ageless Glow Skin Rejuvenating Serum from BioTrust have been nothing short of wonderful. Within no time, this product helped reduce the appearance of fine lines, return my skin's elasticity, and give my skin a more youthful glow. My skin is much more vibrant, and now it is tighter, firmer, smoother than I've seen in years. I highly recommend Glow with Ivory. Get it today for up to 38% off for a limited time by going to glowwithivory.com. Link down below in description, glowwithivory.com. And okay, I'll read any super chats at the end for sure. Okay, so let's get into. I want to show you guys the latest footage out of DC. Let me just let me give you a view, and then I'm going to play a soundbite for you. Let me give you a view. What they've been documenting on their Facebook here. Facing off with police, you can see police have completely blocked the freeway. You know, you can see woods on both sides, but people are not in DC. They're out on the freeway, and DC police are going out into the wooded freeway to block these guys. Like, what's wrong with you driving your truck around the freeway? Why are police blocking people's constitutional right to drive on a public freeway? A lot of them do have big American flags attached to their trucks and things like that. You can see all the trucks backed up there. You see the American flags. And police are blocking it off. So if you check the various posts that the convoys have been posting, you can see some independent journalists, first of all, covering that. Those are the people actually on the ground covering this, not the corporate news who wants to minimize that as much as possible. Okay, so look how police are flagging certain people through off onto the exits, but they are not allowing the trucker convoy. They're just blocking the trucker convoy. So the trucker convoy is up in arms about why they are doing this. So this has been ongoing for a matter of days now, and the convoy has been finding. They posted another video of them driving off on little side roads and through little suburbs. So they found a roundabout route, still trying to make their laps around DC. They're making like a daily lap or two around DC, just to raise awareness. And since they're all the way out on the Beltway, they thought they'd be fine. But DC police don't even want that. DC police don't like the First Amendment, you see. Not only might you get eternally locked up if you go onto Capitol grounds, but they might get you out on the freeway too, as these people are finding. Let's listen into what one of the truckers posted on Facebook here.
Why are we being denied our constitutional right?
That's who you got to call to find out why trucks are not allowed to drive on the roads that they pay taxes for.
Oh my God, look at the GPS. Look at all the red.
Is there red all over? Wow. Here, show you guys something. Look at all the red everywhere. The cops are helping us red that up. So again, here's the number. I need you all to light it up and ask why truckers are not allowed to drive in DC. My cab card registration for this truck says Washington, DC.
Okay, first of all, I got to shout out this one comment. So Canada got more balls. In comparing the U.S. convoy to the Canada convoy, I would say yes, which is shocking and horrifying to us Americans who always prided ourselves on our courage. The Canadian convoy had a lot more courage, but Americans are very timid after January 6th. That's just the fact. It's very sad. I hope a lot of Americans get over that timidness. But anyway, so they shouted out, they put this one officer on blast. Apparently, when the truckers call into DC police saying, hey, why are you violating our constitutional rights to drive around on a freeway? And DC police referred them to this one police officer to get answers. I guess he's a captain of the division that's doing this, I guess. So they blasted out his phone number and said, hey, everyone call him. And by the way, look at our traffic. Traffic around DC was really locked down. As you can see, all that red, DC police blocking all these roads is infringing on a lot of people's ability to go, freely drive around DC. So a lot of people are getting frustrated at this, and it's the police that are aggravating it. But if you look up this officer, if you do a simple Google search of this officer, Bagshaw is his name. And by the way, I called him since that number was put on blast. I called him today before the show. It went straight to voicemail. I'm sure his phone's really lighting up now. But it's a DC number. Anyway, his background, if this is the same officer from DC, Lieutenant Jason Bagshaw, he's widely published, and it's all negative. And a lot of people, this is a sarcastic post about him. His objective: become the new DC police chief. Work experience: May through November of 2020, brutalized DC protesters, committed war crimes, looted food supporters, arrested hundreds on fake charges, withheld phones for 3 months. Hobbies: macing, shooting, tear gassing, and breaking windows. And then it shows video of some of... There he is.
Handcuff for what? For what? What did I do?
Him sicking his officers after this guy. I guess he was very aggressive with the protesters. These were probably the Black Lives Matter protesters of 2020, it looks like. And there's multiple videos of him dealing dealing with people out in the streets. Let me show you another one, because this one, really does look like excessive use of force here. There, he's carrying this person and like throwing them. He just carries this guy and throws him. December 2020, DC Lieutenant Jason Bagshaw carries and throws a medic to the ground. No repercussions. A medic? So I don't know the circumstances of all this. I just think it's really interesting that he's blasted out all over the place, and he's the guy who's apparently in charge of also, interfering with these people peacefully driving around the metro. There's even this lawsuit against him. He's the top listed officer. There's 3 officers listed. He's the top guy listed in the lawsuit, and the lawsuit says that he pulled this guy over, accusing him of a robbery, and then he searched this guy's grandmother's home without a warrant. So he's just barging into people's grandmother's homes. Anyway, this is the police officer, allegedly, that is in charge of shutting down the freeways in DC and blocking people's ability to peacefully protest by driving in traffic. Those trucks are just in amongst all the other cars, and they have a license to drive there. And he, I guess, according to these protesters, is the guy trying to stop them from even driving. Driving's not even allowed now if you're driving for the wrong reason. So the corporate news is picking up this story more and more. It may be taking weeks, but they are getting the corporate news's attention. Here we have the Washingtonian. Quote, "When will the trucker convoy leave DC alone? Who the heck knows?" We spoke with Sarah Aniano, a researcher who has kept a close eye on the People's Convoy that keeps trying to get DC's attention. And by the way, the convoy has met with quite a few lawmakers now. Senator Ron Johnson, Ted Cruz, Jim Johnson, and a couple lawmakers from Missouri. So this is funny. The picture they choose to show is this little Jeep that says F Biden, and on the side it says something about Trump. Quote, "A representative from the nonpartisan convoy on the Beltway last Sunday." Basically saying this convoy calls themselves nonpartisan, but this Jeep clearly shows that they're Trumpsters who hate Biden. And then the article goes on to actually highlight some tweets about how they are blocking, this convoy is causing blockades around the city. What they're not saying is that the convoy's it's the police that are causing the blockade. The police are the ones blocking the streets, not the convoy. This tweet, quote, late to an important doctor's appointment because a trucker convoy protest in Northeast DC. Driver said he would only let me by if I swore to him that my appointment wasn't for an abortion. Okay, that tweet was sent yesterday. Now, that tweet actually does imply that it was the driver who was blocking her. But who knows the full context if she tries to get around him and then she sees it's actually police at the front blocking everybody. From what I could see in the video, it was the police blocking everybody. And then this tweet, a trucker with the People's Convoy gets out of their trunk and punches the window of a Beltway commuter. So this trucker was live streaming his convoy route, and he accidentally streams himself being enraged or being angry. Most of the convoy's been remarkably peaceful, but they've been keeping a close eye, and they happened to catch this guy. See, if you didn't watch real close, you didn't see him slap that guy's car. He did slap it, but that's there right there as he walks away. Boom, he slaps the car. Oh my gosh, truckers are punching windows. Yeah, they caught one guy doing a small act of, I guess what you could call violence, but that's how peaceful this convoy's been. Is that one guy having a frustrated conversation with the car in front of him was the biggest biggest violence they could find, I think, so far. But this this article is obviously, you know, it's a funny article because they're obviously irritated that the convoy is still there. And when are they going to leave? Well, it sounds like the convoy is not going to leave anytime soon. Checking the People's Convoy on Facebook, you can search their group. They've got like 300,000 members on their Facebook group. They're not planning to leave anytime soon. In fact, they're arranging a big party this weekend where they are staged in Hagerstown, Maryland, about around an hour or so outside of DC. The Hagerstown Speedway is their campground for the truckers convoy right now. And so every night they camp out there. I think a lot of people just sleep in like the beds of their trucks. I know a lot of people got hotels up there as well. And they hold these rallies at the Speedway, which is a racetrack set up for an audience, so it's perfect. They've arranged for musicians to come out there this weekend and do a concert. And I'll show you the People's Convoy website if you guys want official updates from the convoy organizers. It's thepeoplesconvoy.org. Here's the website right there, right here. So it shows their plans every day. You can see they're planning to meet tonight, and then tomorrow, March 18th, they plan to depart and do that lap around DC again at 10 a.m. I'm sure police are going to be ready for them. They've got their fundraiser here. I think they started this fundraiser pretty late, just recently, maybe a week ago, if I'm following correctly. They've raised $1.7 million so far. And yeah, I was kind of like, I wonder how these people are really hanging out there. How are they affording this? Well, now they're getting donation support separate from GoFundMe and all this craziness. So they've got all kinds of stuff. They've got their videos talk about their meetings with members of Congress. So there's the original route. Now, I did talk to Maureen Steele, the original organizer for the People's Convoy. I talked to her earlier today, and she's already driving back west. She is planning the next phase of this convoy, which is going to be sort of speaking tour and laying out some concrete plans on how they want to move forward to restore our Constitution. Basically, this page here, when people ask what they stand, what the convoy is advocating for, it's right here. Quote, "It's time to end the declaration of national emergency concerning the COVID-19 pandemic and restore our nation's Constitution." And a lot of people are poo-pooing that now because the convoy, you know, we've seen a lot of regulations stripped away right around the time that this convoy activated. But if you look at what's happening in China right now, China's locking 51 million of its people down because of a new spread of a subvariant of the virus. So there's always concerns that a lot of those regulations are going to come back. And these people, I think, want to make a really solid stand and say, this is how against that we are, and don't even try us going forward, because we are ready to put up a fight. So I think that is what these people are doing right now, and no end in sight to their protest. Now, I want to get over to what's going on with Ukraine. It's endlessly in the headlines, but this Ukraine was in the headlines a couple years ago because of connection to Hunter Biden's laptop. And it was really interesting. At the time, I was doing boots on the ground journalism for Fox. And so I was every day I was just zoned into whatever they had me covering. That's the only thing I would focus on. And they never had me covering that. So I was like, whatever. But I would hear word of it. And all I heard about Hunter's laptop was that he loved drugs and naked pictures, basically. And there was a lot of memes about that. And that's the main thing that right-wing people would highlight, and I was like, well, dude, I don't care about his reckless lifestyle. If he's into drugs and naked stuff, that's none of my business. So I think right-wing people, if that was the cause they were advocating for, they did a poor job of getting the message out of what was actually on his laptop, because some pretty serious stuff regarding conflict of interest and corruption in Ukraine was on there. And that's what you should be talking about. But now it's all over the headlines that the New York Times is finally admitting that the laptop is real stuff. And so I want to, so Hunter's laptop is authentic. I want to highlight for you guys, because if you're like me, this laptop story is a little confusing, and we just hear this phrase Hunter's laptop and we don't get clear on what the heck is on there and why does it matter to us. So I'm just going to read you this blurb from Breitbart, who laid it out pretty well here in regards to the job that Hunter got. So first of all, he got this job on the board of directors of this big oil and gas giant, where he's making $83,000 per month, and he's totally not qualified for the job. So it's like, wait, how did he get this big Ukrainian oil and gas tycoon job that he doesn't even qualify for? If you look at the other board members' jobs, it was sketchy. And then you get into some of the stuff here. Adding to the concerns is the fact that at the time Hunter Biden joined Burisma, the company was seen as actively courting Western leaders to prevent further scrutiny of its business practices. The same month that Hunter was tapped for the group's board, the government of Great Britain froze accounts belonging to Burisma founder Mykola Zlochevsky under suspicion of money laundering. I hate these Eastern European names. Zlochevsky, a former Ukrainian minister of natural resources, would later be accused of corruption for using his office to approve oil and gas licenses to companies under his control. Joe Biden's role in the entire matter has only increased suspicion of conflicting interests. As the sitting vice president, Joe Biden led the Obama administration's response to the Russian invasion of Crimea in 2014. In that role, he pushed billions of dollars in aid to the Ukrainian government, some of which allegedly was filtered to Burisma. More troubling, however, is an episode that took place in 2016 when Joe Biden pressured the Ukrainian government to fire Viktor Shokin, the country's top prosecutor. Officially, the former vice president has claimed his threat to withhold U.S. aid to Ukraine if Shokin was not fired came from the Obama administration, which had lost confidence in the prosecutor's ability to root out corruption. Unofficially, though, it was well known that Shokin was investigating both Burisma and Zlochevsky for wrongdoing. Regardless of the reason, Shokin's successor closed the investigation into Burisma and Zlochevsky, allowing the oligarch to return to the country after having fled in 2014. So there you go. There's money laundering allegations associated with this big high up job that Hunter Biden has. Hunter Biden gets the job when he's not qualified for it. There may or may not be money laundering going on with the company that Hunter Biden's associated with. And when the Ukraine prosecutor tries to investigate it, Joe Biden gets that prosecutor fired. So that's really interesting, and some of these emails associated with that are apparently on Hunter Biden's laptop. That's just one aspect of the corruption associated with Ukraine. See, I think a lot of the Ukrainian citizens really want to be a part of a non-corrupt country, just like we Americans do. I think the average person hates corruption and they want to be proudly part of a great nation that is not corrupt. And Ukraine comes from a deep history of corruption, and they're trying to dig themselves out of that. And that's why when they finally had a free and fair election, they elected an actor, a comedian, Zelensky, a guy with no career politician history or ties. They wanted Zelensky because he would be for the people. And Zelensky comes to power, and maybe he is for the people, and maybe he is a great guy, but he comes into this entire nation's which is built in corruption and being coddled by the US, and they need the US in order to defend themselves from Russia because Russia hates them. And so I mean Putin hates them for sure. And so they need the US, so they kind of got to get in bed with the US to please the US enough so that the US will help them enough. And before they know it, they may or may not be tied into a bunch of US corruption associated possibly with Joe Biden. We're seeing these big hints that may be the case. And then you get into the biolabs. Okay, the biolabs are another thing that the US has been collabing with Ukraine on. It's very, let me just go straight to the US Embassy website associated with Ukraine. Here, let me share this page with y'all. Let's just go straight to it. Okay. This is this is ua.usembassy.gov. Okay. This is a US website written, I guess, in Ukrainian. I had to hit the translate button. The Google Translate button translated it for me. But this is the official, the official details from U.S. Embassy in Ukraine regarding the real biolabs that are and were there. U.S. Department, it says here, quote, Biohazard Reduction Program. The U.S. Department of Defense Biological Threat Reduction Program works with partner countries to counter the threat of outbreaks, intentional, accidental, or natural, of the world's most dangerous infectious diseases. The program fulfills its mission to reduce biological threats by developing a culture of biorisk management, international research projects, and enhancing the capacity of partners to strengthen biosecurity, biosafety, and epidemiological surveillance. Consolidation and protection of pathogens and toxins that pose a danger are priority areas of the Biological Threat Reduction Program in Ukraine. Continue to assist Ukraine in strengthening and reporting Ukraine's capacity to detect and report outbreaks of dangerous pathogens before they pose a threat to security or stability. So there you go. They have this lab that apparently, as they write it here, their goal is to prevent outbreak, to identify a new pathogen and prevent it. And I guess by doing that, they have to create pathogens in a lab. It's just very strange to me. Why do you need to be manufacturing pathogens in a lab in order to better assist you in identifying pathogens out in the world and stopping them? And by the way, if you guys have been doing this lab for years, apparently you guys first started this, as I've been researching, during the Bush years. So you've got this lab in Ukraine during the Bush years. And why do the lab in Ukraine? If this is a US funded thing, why is it all the way in Ukraine? Well, perhaps because there's the threat of Russian bioweapons, the concern that Russia would launch a bioweapon on the outskirts of its country because it hates Ukraine. So that's why you'd want to have this big thing going right there. I don't know, but it's, why is the US funding all this, funneling money to Ukraine where they have labs, where they have little petri dishes of deadly diseases, but apparently it's for everyone's good. And if you've been doing this for so many years, and you would think, putting all that money into this project you've been doing for so many years, you'd be able to stop these freaking viruses in their tracks, right? So why was nobody able to do anything when COVID rolled around? It's as if nobody had a plan when COVID rolled around, but allegedly they've been carefully creating these plans in biolabs for years to defend against a new virus. Anyway, of course, the fact checkers are going to town, circling the wagons as always, to protect America's poor little eyes and ears from misinformation about the biolabs. Quote, Russian biolab conspiracy theory finds support in U.S. Now, this is put out by the Associated Press via Nexstar Media Wire. What that means, viewers, is that this little wire transfer, this particular article has been blasted to countless, probably hundreds of media outlets across the nation. AP wire stories can be some of the most powerful, influential information just because it permeates so many news outlets. And this is in partnership with Nexstar, which means it's print and TV going to town. So newscasters are going to be reading this script as well. So whatever's written here is some of the most influential stuff because it permeates your eyes and ears. They want to make sure that you know that this biolab stuff is a conspiracy theory. So it says, quote, Russia's baseless claims about secret American biological warfare labs in Ukraine are taking root in the U.S. too, uniting COVID-19 conspiracy theorists with QAnon adherents and some supporters of ex-President Donald Trump. Despite rebuttals from independent scientists, Ukrainian leaders, and officials in the White House and Pentagon, the online popularity of the claims suggests some Americans are willing to trust Kremlin propaganda over the U.S. media and government. Like any effective conspiracy theory, the Russian claim relies on some truths. Ukraine does maintain a network of biological labs dedicated to research into pathogens, and those labs have received funding and research support from the U.S. But the labs are owned and operated by Ukraine, and the work is not secret. It's part of an initiative called the Biological Threat Reduction Program that aims to reduce the likelihood of deadly outbreaks, whether natural or man-made. The U.S. efforts to date back to work in the 1990s to dismantle the former Soviet Union's program for weapons of mass destruction. Yes, but up until today, you guys, they have been doing these petri dishes of deadly diseases. In fact, let me show you guys what the World Health Org was. Whatever they were doing in these biolabs was so dangerous to humanity that World Health Org, in witnessing the tension that was escalating from Russia in February, was urging Ukraine to get rid of these whatever is in the biolabs for fear something very bad could happen to people's health. Reuters article, exclusive. WHO says it advised Ukraine to destroy pathogens in health labs to prevent disease spread. This is just such an inconvenient article to the permeators of information at the Associated Press in the US. It's interesting. Reuters is based out of the UK. UK is actually the one who accused the prosecutor or accused the oil and gas people in Ukraine of money laundering, the same people that Hunter Biden worked with. So UK is kind of hands off, separated from whatever's going on between the US and Ukraine. So UK is putting out this wire transfer, which is just really inconvenient when we just read the AP. AP doesn't like this article. And that's why Reuters has the exclusive, because AP didn't want to cover this. So WHO says it advised Ukraine to destroy pathogens in health labs to prevent disease spread. The World Health Organization advised Ukraine to destroy high-threat pathogens housed in the country's public health laboratories to prevent any potential spills that would spread disease among populations, the agency told Reuters. Like many other countries, Ukraine has public health laboratories researching how to mitigate the threat of dangerous disease affecting both animals and humans, including most recently COVID. Its labs have received support from the United States, the European Union, and the WHO. Biosecurity experts say that Russia's movement of troops into Ukraine and the bombardment of its cities have raised the risk of an escape of disease-causing pathogens should any of those facilities be damaged. But seriously, why are you making deadly diseases? Why do you have labs dedicated to making deadly diseases? And you're saying you do that to prevent deadly diseases? But this is the opposite land that we've been living in. It sure seems like, you guys. You guys probably want to check out this article from The Independent out of the UK too. It seems like we can get more information from the United Kingdom in regards to this than some of our mainstream media. What are the Ukraine biolabs and why have they become a focus for Fox News and the US? Right. So I guess Tucker Carlson did feature the biolabs, and he's getting a lot of heat for that. Tucker is the one guy who seems to be quite a straight shooter, and I know that he really gets under Fox Corp's skin, but Fox Corp knows that Tucker's the guy who gives them the ratings, but they also give him he also gives them headaches. So Tucker gives Fox Corp ratings, but also gives Fox Corp headaches. He gives them headaches because he covers stories like this that are just inconvenient truths coming out that cause a lot of outrage and a lot of circling the wagons on the left and a lot of threats of lawsuits against Fox. That's the main thing that Fox hates. And for that, Fox gets really flabbergasted at Tucker, but they let him continue. And I'd be very interested in what they try to tell him behind the scenes. Like, dude, Tucker, can you please ease up on some of these topics? Please, dude. But at the end of the day, they do allow Tucker, for the most part, to be Tucker because he brings them the ratings. So they let him talk about the biolabs. Although the one thing it seems like they laid the hammer down on was the election coverage. So he had earlier said that we are going to stay zoned in on what really happened with the 2020 election. And as soon as he said that, he promptly zipped his lips, didn't say another thing about it. Arizona audit results came out, which there was a lot of important info in there that was glazed over in the mainstream media, and Tucker glazed right over it too. So that's the one thing where he does appear to be censored on. But anyway, I digress. Guys, I'm not going to read through this all for you, but I encourage you to read this independent article. They say, I guess I did highlight this part here. Quote, now that Russia has made these false claims and China has seemingly endorsed this propaganda, we should all be on the lookout for Russia to possibly use chemical or biological weapons in Ukraine or to create a false flag operation using them, tweeted Jen Psaki, the White House press secretary. It's a clear pattern. Oh, yeah, because Psaki had said that the whole biolab thing, I guess, was Russian disinformation. But now she's saying that Russia's going to use biological weapons. It's just so interesting. Like, how are we supposed to believe this? We have concrete proof that from the WHO saying not only are there biolabs, but there's something in those biolabs that is so hazardous to humanity, we are begging you, Ukrainians, to destroy it as Russia invades you. And then Psaki has the gall to say that based on the fact that Russia is raising the red flag about these biolabs, that now we're supposed to think that Russia is going to unleash a biological weapon, when WHO just outed Ukraine as the one possessing a biological weapon. And you may want to say, dude, I know the fact checker is going to come after me for that last sentence I just said. Ooh, it's not a biological weapon. They were researching the disease to help people. Well, it's a weapon. If you may say it's a defense weapon, or we're defensively researching, but you're saying that if that building gets invaded, that an illness will be unleashed on humanity that could kill a lot of people. That tells me that Ukraine is in possession of a weapon. Let's use common sense, guys. I want to refer back to this Becker article. Oh my gosh, I'm running long again. But Becker article, because they actually bring out the actual document that Russia presented. The Minister of Defense confirms that bioweapons were being developed in Ukraine. According to Russia, which, look, we do have to take what Russia says with a grain of salt, because they do put out a lot of propaganda, okay? But they put out this document, this Ukrainian document, basically from Ukrainian health officials instructing, basically saying that the presidential order in Ukraine is indeed giving them the go-ahead to destroy these biological components, and that, laying out the instructions here. What I highlighted, I guess, is why this is the part, because Becker News actually does a full exclusive translation, because this is all in either Ukrainian or Russian, this document here. beckernews.com. But they do a full exclusive translation of this document that Russia says is from the Ukraine Minister of Health. And this translated part right here is, I think, where Russia is trying to claim that this is a weapon. It says, quote, "The order carrying out of emergency destruction of biological pathogenic agents which are used for maintenance of system and quality management of laboratory in case of emergence of extraordinary military character." So I think that the extraordinary military character part, again, the way the sentence is worded is defensively, saying basically, if Russia were to come at us militarily, we have these weapons. But Russia, or we have these pathogens, but Russia's taking it as, yeah, you have weapons against us, that if we do anything to you, you're going to bomb us. And then here's the part, or not bomb us, but actually bomb our health. Here's the part where it actually lists the names of some of these illnesses. And diphtheria. So we've got pneumonia, we got diphtheria, which diphtheria is a serious infection caused by strains of bacteria that make toxic poison. It can lead to difficulty breathing, heart failure, paralysis, and even death. So, but a lot of strange scientific names up there. But at the top, it listed in layman's terms what some of these are. Some of the agents that Russia says were found at the Ukrainian biolab were the causative agents of plague, anthrax, tularemia, which is that is an illness that normally rabbits carry, but it's very serious, caused by a bacteria that causes serious illness. Anyways, cholera, which can cause, it's a serious diarrhea that can cause death, and then other deadly diseases. So if we reference back to the U.S. Embassy of Ukraine website, they talk all about this biolab program that they have. And it's just like, it's just, our mainstream media is just so blindly aligned with the narrative that Ukraine and US are, Biden admin are peddling, which of course Ukraine and Biden admin, the ones responsible for this biolab, are going to say the most wonderful things about it. So, but we have to look at the facts on the ground without those blinders on and say, okay, the WHO was begging people to, shut this down. So, because there it could cause serious illness, and Russia is saying, yeah, and serious illness is a form of biological weaponry, and that makes sense to me. So, did Zelensky want to have that on his premises? Did Zelensky want to be responsible for deadly plagues being developed in his country? Probably not. But when he needs the U.S. to collab with him, he needs to be in bed with the U.S. in order to protect himself against Russia. I guess that's what he had to do. I think I have a feeling Zelensky's a really good guy, but he's caught in a sucky situation, and and it worked out. Him being in bed with Biden, it worked out because Biden in the past week just gave Zelensky $1 billion of our money. Us taxpayers, at the hand of Biden, just handed over $1 billion to Zelensky. And is it because Biden owes Zelensky because of all the help with Biden's son? Who knows? But Biden announced yesterday that he sent in the past week $1 billion to Zelensky, and that more money from the U.S. will be funneling Zelensky's way in order to support Zelensky's economy during this hard time. Never mind America's own economy. And people are saying, hey, this is taxation without representation at the hands of Biden. Biden is committing taxation without representation because none of us Americans had a say in handing all that money over to Zelensky. But Biden is just willy-nilly doing this. And other Americans are saying, oh my gosh, Ivory, you are so insensitive for even talking like this because people are dying in Ukraine. And it is very devastating what's happening. It's very sad. And we lost some Americans there. Has Biden even, made mention of the American lives that we lost there? The journalists? We lost some American journalists just in the past week. It's been horrible. It's horrible what's happening there. I totally agree. But do Americans have any say in where their money goes? Americans should have say in where their money goes, period. If you're a free person, you should be able to decide whether you send your money over there and not have Joe Biden do a money grab. I've heard from people who say they had their biggest tax bill of their lives this year. I did. I had my taxes were higher than ever this year. A lot of people are saying that. But when Biden runs out of tax money, he just prints money anyway. So that's the situation we're in. Anyway, I gotta run, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you. We'll see you tomorrow. It's gonna be Truth Bombs podcast back, and I'm bringing back on my Russian friend Yelena. It's gonna be Truth Bombs with Ivory and Yelena. With all this stuff going on in Russia, it's really key to have a Russian on the show to get her perspective too, and she can help interpret things and figure out what's really going on. So tune in to Truth Bombs tomorrow, 4 p.m. See ya.